crouched in his foxhole and watched the jungle. Somewhere in those trees hidden in vegetation so thick you could barely see 5 feet ahead, a Japanese sniper was waiting. The sniper had killed 17 American Marines in the past 5 days. Nobody knew where he was. Nobody could see him. But he could see them. Tommy needed to relieve himself. He had been holding it for 3 hours but could not wait anymore. The pressure in his bladder was unbearable. The heat made everything worse. He stood up carefully, moved 10 feet to the designated latrine area behind a coconut palm, stayed low, moved quickly, did everything the officers said to do. A single crack echoed across the ridge. Tommy fell backward. Blood poured from a hole through his neck. The wound was clean, professional, precise. He tried to breathe, but only gurgling sounds came out. His hands clutched at his throat, but the blood kept flowing. Warm, red, unstoppable. His eyes went wide with confusion and terror. He died in 40 seconds. He was the 143rd Marine to die this way since the landing 3 weeks ago. 5 more would die before sunset. None of them would ever see who fired the shot. This was the nightmare of Guadalcanal. The American Marines had come to take this island from the Japanese Empire. They thought it would take a few weeks, clear the beach, secure the airfield, move on to the next island. Simple, straightforward, victory through superior numbers and firepower. Now they were stuck, trapped in a brutal stalemate that ground men down like meat in a grinder. The Japanese held the high ground inland. Every ridge, every jungle trail, every hidden position held enemy snipers who could kill with impunity. Men who had trained for years in forests just like this. Men who understood patience. Men who became invisible. The Marines could not advance without taking casualties, could not hold positions safely, could not eat meals in peace, could not sleep without fear, could not even use latrines without risking death. The invisible enemy was always watching, always waiting, always killing. In one terrible week, 218 men fell to sniper fire. Their bodies lay where they dropped, because retrieving them meant certain death for whoever tried. The smell of decay filled the air. The sound of flies swarming over corpses became background noise nobody acknowledged, but everyone heard. Officers tried everything conventional. Artillery shells shook the jungle for hours. Explosions sent clouds of dirt and vegetation into the air. Thousands of rounds fired into trees and hills and shadows. When smoke cleared, Japanese snipers were still there. They had simply moved to new positions. The shells had killed rocks and trees. Nothing more. Spotters with binoculars searched every inch of terrain. These were trained observers, men who could identify aircraft at 5 miles, men who could read terrain like farmers read weather. They found nothing. The Japanese snipers were too well hidden. 2 of the spotters themselves were killed while searching. Their training could not save them from enemies they could not see. Then came suppressive fire. Hundreds of Marines firing rifles at hills all at once. They shot at rocks, at bushes, at shadows. They fired thousands of bullets. The noise was deafening. It lasted 20 minutes. When they stopped exhausted and deaf, the Japanese snipers fired back. 3 more Americans died. The enemy had not been touched. In the officer's tent, Major General Lewis Harrison slammed his fist on the wooden table. The sound cracked through the humid air like a gunshot. He had lost 600 men to snipers in 5 weeks. His conventional tactics were failing. His trained marksmen could not compete. His artillery was useless. The situation was getting worse, not better. Colonel William Bradford sat across from him, shaking his head slowly. The colonel was old school. West Point, 3 wars worth of experience. He believed in the traditional ways, the proven ways. Sniping is not proper warfare, he said firmly. Real Marines fight face to face. We charge with bayonets. We take hills through courage and discipline. We do not hide like cowards and shoot from shadows. That is murder, not combat. That is assassination, not warfare. We should not waste resources training our men to fight this way. It is beneath us. It is beneath the honor of the Marine Corps. Other officers nodded in agreement. This was the old way of thinking. War was supposed to be honorable. Soldiers faced each other openly. They fought with courage visible and counted. You could see your enemy. You could respect his bravery even as you killed him. But hiding in trees and shooting men who could not shoot back, that was not the American way. That was not how civilized nations conducted war. But the men dying in the trenches did not care about honor. They cared about staying alive. They cared about going home. They cared about seeing their families again instead of being buried in shallow graves on an island nobody had heard of before this war started. Among those men sat a quiet 23-year-old private named Jack Chen. He did not look like a soldier who would change everything. He was short and lean, with dark hair and sharp eyes that noticed things others missed. His skin was darker than most Marines. His features were distinctly Chinese. His mother had been from Guangdong province. His father was English by blood, but had married Chinese and raised his son to understand both worlds. Jack had grown up on a farm in California's Central Valley, Modesto, a place of endless fields and summer heat and racism so casual it was part of the landscape like irrigation ditches and barbed wire fences. Before the war, nobody in the Marine Corps would have looked at him twice. Chinese boy, farm labor, nothing special, nothing worth noticing. But Jack Chen had spent his whole life hunting deer in the California foothills. He knew how to stay perfectly still for 15 hours straight under burning sun. He knew how to read the land to use every rock and tree for cover. He knew that the best hunter was the one you never saw coming. In the scrub land back home, he could track a deer across 5 miles of rough terrain, could predict where it would move before it moved, could hit a target at 400 yards with iron sights. The Marine Corps had given Jack a standard Springfield rifle when he enlisted. It was the same weapon every Marine carried. Nothing special, nothing custom, just a basic rifle that could shoot straight if you knew how to use it. Jack knew how to use it. His father had taught him when he was 8 years old, had spent 10 years refining that knowledge until shooting was as natural as breathing. Jack sat in his foxhole now and watched other Marines fire blindly at the jungle, watched artillery shells explode and accomplish nothing, watched good men die because nobody could find the enemy. And he thought about the deer in California mountains, about patience, about observation, about becoming part of the landscape until you were invisible. In Modesto, if you fired your rifle randomly into the brush, you would never hit anything. The animals would hear you coming from a mile away. They would vanish before you got close. The only way to hunt successfully was patience. You had to become part of the terrain. You had to wait until the target came to you. You had to know the land better than your prey knew it. Jack looked up at the jungle where Japanese snipers hid. The terrain reminded him of home. Rough ground, thick vegetation, plenty of cover. He had spent 15 years learning to disappear in country just like this. He realized something Marine colonels had not. This was not a job for artillery or bayonet charges or conventional combat. This was a job for a hunter. And Jack Chen had been hunting since he was old enough to hold a rifle. But first, understand how a boy from California learned to see patterns where others saw only chaos. Take a moment with me. I need your help. When I started this channel, I never imagined it would grow like this. But here we are telling stories that deserve to be heard. Stories of American soldiers who changed history but were forgotten by the country they served. If you believe these stories matter, please hit that subscribe button. Let's show the world that sacrifice deserves recognition. Thank you for being part of this journey. Let's make sure Jack Chen's story is never forgotten again. Spring 1927, Modesto, California. Jack Chen, age 8. The Chen family farm stretched 120 acres in the Central Valley. Not prosperous land, not the kind of rich soil that made men wealthy, just survival. Hard work and longer hours in hope that the crops would not fail this year like they failed last year. Thomas Chen had immigrated from Guangdong province in 1905. He was 17 years old, spoke no English, had nothing but the clothes on his back and determination that bordered on stubbornness. He worked railroad construction for 15 years. Brutal labor, dangerous work. Men died regularly. Chinese men died more often than white men because nobody cared if Chinese died. Thomas saved every penny, never spent money on anything except absolute necessities. After 15 years, he had enough to buy marginal farmland nobody else wanted. White farmers looked at the rocky soil and moved on. Thomas Chen saw opportunity, bought 120 acres. Married a Chinese woman named Mary who had come to California as a picture bride. They worked the land together. They grew vegetables for Japanese and Chinese markets in San Francisco. Tomatoes, bok choy, winter melons. Crops white Americans did not eat. Crops that served immigrant communities hungry for food that tasted like home. The work was endless. The profit was minimal. The racism was constant and casual and everywhere. Jack grew up hearing slurs, heard white kids call him Chinaman at school, saw signs in town that said, "No Orientals, no dogs," watched his father ignored at the bank, at the feed store, in every interaction with white Americans who controlled everything. Watched his mother lower her eyes when white women passed. Learned early that being Chinese in America meant being less than, meant being invisible in ways that hurt. But Thomas Chen taught his sons something white men did not value: how to hunt. The farm bordered foothills where black-tailed deer came down to feed at dawn and dusk. Game wardens did not patrol Chinese farms much, did not care what immigrants did. Thomas took Jack into those hills when the boy was 8 years old, carried a Winchester rifle older than the farm itself, showed his son how to move through brush without making sound, how to read tracks, how to wait. White men hunt by walking through forests making noise, Thomas explained in his accented English. They think deer are stupid, but deer survive because they are smarter than hunters. You want to eat, you become smarter than deer. Thomas taught Jack to move so slowly deer would not notice, to freeze completely when any animal looked his direction, to understand wind direction, how scent carried, how animals perceived threats, to read tracks like reading newspaper, to predict game trails before walking them, to know where prey would go before prey knew it themselves. Best hunter is the one animal never sees, Thomas said. Become part of forest, become rock, become shadow. Then animal walks to you. Jack learned quickly. His small size was advantage. He could slip through brush that would snag larger men. His patience was natural. He did not fidget, did not complain, could sit motionless for hours while his father watched, teaching through silence and example more than words. By age 10, Jack could track a deer across 5 miles of rough terrain, could predict where it would bed down for the day, could approach within 50 yards without being detected, could hit a target at 200 yards with iron sights that most men could not even see through clearly. The Chen family ate venison 3 times weekly. Jack provided meat that saved money for farm expenses. His father relied on him. His sister Sarah, 6 years younger, knew her brother could always bring food home. The skill that began as survival became mastery, became art, became something Jack carried in his bones like breathing. Age 13, autumn 1932. Jack had been hunting alone for 3 years now. His father trusted him completely, gave him the Winchester, sent him into the hills alone. One morning, Jack tracked a 6-point buck through the foothills for 8 hours. Never once did the deer know Jack was there. Jack moved when wind masked sound, froze when the deer looked back, used terrain to stay invisible, used patience that would have broken most men. At sunset, the buck walked into a clearing 180 yards from where Jack waited behind a fallen log. One shot, clean kill. The deer died instantly, never knew the hunter existed. Jack field dressed the animal. His knife work was efficient. No wasted motion, no wasted meat. He hauled it back to the farm as darkness fell. His father inspected the kill site the next day, looked at the bullet placement, the lack of wasted meat, the clean, efficient kill. You understand now, Thomas said quietly. Hunting is not about being stronger. It's about being invisible, about understanding prey better than prey understands itself. It would change modern warfare forever. But Jack did not know that yet. He was just a 13-year-old Chinese boy learning to hunt deer so his family could eat. 1936. Jack, age 17, Modesto High School. Jack was the only Chinese student in a school of 400 white kids. His clothes were hand-me-downs from donation boxes at the Catholic Church. His lunch was rice and vegetables, his mother packed in a tin container. Other kids ate sandwiches and apples and things that looked American. Jack's food smelled different, looked different, made him different in ways he could not control. Teachers treated him like he did not understand English, even though he spoke it perfectly. Better than some white kids who had grown up speaking nothing else. They talked slowly to him, explained simple concepts multiple times, acted like being Chinese meant being slow, meant being less intelligent. One afternoon in the school hallway, 3 white boys blocked his path, led by Kurt Meyer, football player, tall and thick with muscles from farm work in natural size, son of the bank president who had denied Thomas Chen loans 3 times. "Hey, Chinaman," Kurt said loudly, "why don't you go back where you came from?" Jack tried to walk around them. Kurt shoved him against lockers. Metal slammed into his back. Pain shot through his shoulders. "I'm talking to you," Kurt continued. "We don't want your kind here, taking American jobs, taking our land. You people don't belong." The other boys laughed, surrounded Jack, made it clear he was trapped, made it clear he was less than, made it clear that being Chinese meant being target. Jack did not fight back. His father had taught him that Chinese who fought white boys ended up in jail or worse. The law was not on their side, would never be on their side. He took the shove, took the insults, walked away when they finally let him, felt shame burning in his chest, shame that he could not defend himself, shame that being Chinese meant accepting humiliation as the price of existing. That night, he told his father what happened. Thomas's face was tired in a way that had nothing to do with farm work. This tiredness went bone deep, went soul deep. "This is America," Thomas said quietly. "But America does not want us. We survive by being invisible, by working harder, by never giving them reason to notice us." You understand? Jack understood, but understanding did not make it hurt less. October 1938, Jack, age 19. Mary Chen died of pneumonia. The family could not afford hospital care. The white doctor who made house calls came 3 days late. When he finally arrived, infection had spread to her lungs. Nothing could be done. She died holding Thomas's hand, whispered in Cantonese about the village in Guangdong she had left 33 years earlier, the village she would never see again. The funeral was small. Chinese community from Modesto and Stockton attended, brought food, offered condolences, stood together in solidarity against a world that did not care if they lived or died. No white neighbors came. The Chens had lived on that farm for 20 years, had never caused trouble, had always paid their bills. But when Mary died, white neighbors stayed away, sent no flowers, offered no sympathy. Jack stood beside his father and 13-year-old Sarah at the grave, felt something harden inside him. His mother had worked herself to death on a farm that barely supported them, in a country that never accepted them. Died without ever seeing justice or fairness or equality. Died knowing her children would face the same struggles she had faced, the same racism, the same invisibility. Jack became head of household at 19, ran the farm with his father, provided meat by hunting, took over responsibilities that should have been shared, had no time for social life, no time for dreams, no time for anything except survival. The invisibility his father taught him became literal. Jack Chen disappeared into farm work and hunting, barely noticed by a world that did not want to notice him anyway. But someone did notice him. Summer 1940, Modesto County Fair. Jack, age 21, Maggie, age 21. Margaret Sullivan worked the St. Mary's Hospital booth near the livestock pavilion. Irish-American, Catholic, daughter of a railroad foreman who had died in a switching yard accident when she was 12. Her mother had struggled to raise 4 children alone. Maggie had put herself through nursing school by cleaning houses at night, working double shifts, sleeping 4 hours and studying instead of eating. Now she was a full nurse at the hospital, one of the few women with a profession and income of her own. She noticed Jack because of how he moved. He was showing a heifer his father had raised, demonstrating the animal with quiet competence. Most men showed livestock with loud confidence, asserting dominance, proving their control. Jack moved differently, gentle, observant, patient. The heifer responded to his presence, stayed calm while other animals panicked at the noise and crowds. Maggie approached after the judging. The heifer had taken 3rd place, $10 prize money. Jack was pleased. His father was counting on that money for winter feed. "You're good with animals," Maggie said. Her voice was clear, direct, honest. Not many men have that touch. Jack looked at her, surprised anyone was talking to him, surprised a white woman was talking to him. His experience taught him white women did not talk to Chinese men, did not acknowledge them except to complain about laundry or vegetables. "Thank you," he managed, just doing what she needs. Animals respond when you understand them. "I'm Margaret Sullivan. Everyone calls me Maggie. I work at St. Mary's Hospital. Jack Chen. He hesitated, waited for the usual reaction when white people heard his Chinese name, waited for the withdrawal, the sudden coldness, the excuses to leave. Maggie smiled. Your family has the farm on Route 99, right? My uncle Father O'Brien mentioned it. Said your father grows the best winter melons in the valley. Your uncle knows my father. Father O'Brien knows everyone. She laughed, warm and genuine. He doesn't care what country people come from. Says we're all God's children, that we're all equal in his eyes, even if we're not equal in anyone else's. They talked for an hour about farms, about nursing, about Modesto, about dreams that seemed impossible but felt real when spoken aloud. Maggie did not flinch at Jack's Chinese heritage, did not treat him like he was less than, did not talk slowly or explain simple concepts. Talked to him like an equal, like a person, like someone worth knowing. When the fair ended and they had to part, Maggie asked something that made Jack's heart stop. Can I see you again? Maybe take a walk by the Tuolumne River on Sunday after Mass? Jack's throat went dry. You want to see me? A Chinese farm boy. Maggie met his eyes directly. I want to see you, Jack Chen. Not interested in what anyone else thinks about it, Sunday walks became weekly ritual through fall and winter into spring of 1941. Long conversations after Maggie's nursing shifts, walking along river trails where they could be alone, away from stares, away from judgment, away from a world that said Chinese men and Irish women should not fall in love. Maggie learned about Jack's hunting skill, about how his father taught him to become invisible, about tracking deer for miles without being seen, about understanding animal behavior so completely he could predict where prey would go before it moved. Jack learned about Maggie's faith, about how Father O'Brien had raised her after her father died, about her determination to help people despite poverty, about her belief that everyone deserved dignity regardless of race or class, about her courage in a world that punished women who had opinions and ambitions. They fell in love the way people fall in love when society tells them they should not. Carefully, secretly, building foundations strong enough to bear the weight of prejudice they knew was coming. Building something real in a world that said they should not exist together. Spring of 1941, Riverside picnic. Jack age 22, Maggie age 22. Jack nervous in a way combat would never make him. War's coming. Everyone knows it. Japan's fighting China. Germany's taking Europe. We'll be pulled in eventually. When that happens, when I get drafted, I need you to know something. Maggie took his hand, held it tight. What I love you, Maggie Sullivan. I know I'm Chinese and you're Irish. I know people will say terrible things. I know your family might not accept it, but I love you. And if I survive whatever's coming, I want to marry you. Want to build a life together. Want to prove that love matters more than what ignorant people think. Maggie's eyes filled with tears, catching afternoon sunlight. I love you too, Jack Chen. And I don't care what anyone says. You're the best man I've ever known. You're kind and smart and gentle and strong in ways most men aren't. When this war comes, you come back to me. You hear me? You come back and we'll get married and we'll face whatever comes together. They kissed under California oak trees while the Tuolumne River flowed past. Indifferent to human wars and human love and human promises that would be tested in ways neither could imagine yet. They made promises they would have to fight to keep, created hope that would sustain Jack through hell itself. From that day forward, Maggie wrote Jack weekly letters, updates on Modesto, hospital work, dreams of their wedding. I'm saving money for us, she wrote. $43 so far. When you come home, we'll have a real ceremony. Father O'Brien already agreed to marry us no matter what my cousins say. Come home to me, Jack. Come home. Jack carried her photograph everywhere after that. Dark hair, Irish features, smile that made being Chinese-American in white man's California seem survivable. The photograph would save his life in ways neither expected. December 7th, 1941. Sunday afternoon, Chen family farm. Jack and Thomas were working in the field, repairing irrigation pipes damaged by winter freeze. Physical labor that never ended. The radio in the house was playing music. Big band, something cheerful and distant from farm work. Sarah ran from the house screaming, "Turn on the radio! Turn on the radio. The Japanese attacked Hawaii. Inside the house, the radio crackled with breaking news. Pearl Harbor. Bombs falling, ships burning, hundreds dead, thousands more wounded. Fleet destroyed. Everything changed in hours. Everything Jack knew about the world ended in 90 minutes of bombing. Thomas's face went gray. His hands shook. "This is very bad for us," he said quietly. "Japanese attacked America. We are Chinese, but white people won't see difference. They will see Oriental faces and think enemy." He was right. Within days, suspicion fell on anyone Asian-looking. People who had ignored the Chens for years now glared at them with active hatred. Someone spray-painted Jap lover on their barn in red paint that dripped like blood. The feed store refused to serve them. Neighbors who had tolerated Chinese presence now saw enemy everywhere. December 15th, 1941. Jack went to the Marine recruiting office in Modesto. The recruiting sergeant was a barrel-chested white man named Kowalski. He looked at Jack with surprise and suspicion. "You want to enlist, you, Chinese or Japanese Chinese?" Jack kept his voice steady. "Families from Guangdong. We've been here 35 years. China's allied with us now, fighting Japan." Kowalski studied Jack's paperwork. "I can work with that. Says here you're a farmer. Can you shoot?" "Yes, Sergeant. I can shoot." "How well?" "Well enough," Kowalski smirked. "Every farm boy says that. We'll see what you've got." At the rifle range, Kowalski handed Jack a Springfield rifle. "Hit those targets at 200 yards. Let's see what California farm boys can do." Jack fired 5 rounds. All 5 hit center mass. Kowalski's smirk faded. He raised eyebrows. "Not bad. Try 400. Jack adjusted for distance. Controlled his breathing the way his father taught him 15 years earlier. Fired 5 more rounds. 4 hit center mass. 1 was 6 inches left. Kowalski whistled. "Where'd you learn to shoot like that?" "Hunting deer in the foothills since I was 8 years old." "Can you move through terrain without being seen?" "Yes, Sergeant. How well?" "Well enough that deer don't know I'm there until I pull the trigger." Kowalski looked at Jack with new interest, new respect. Marines need scouts, men who can move through jungle without being detected, men who can think like hunters. "You think you can do that?" "Yes, Sergeant. That's what I do." Jack signed enlistment papers, became Private Jack Chen, United States Marine Corps. Would ship to boot camp in San Diego in 2 weeks. Would leave behind everything he knew. Would become something the world never expected. Would prove that Chinese-American farm boys could fight and die for a country that did not accept them as equals. December 20th, Modesto train station. Thomas Chen said, the platform was crowded. Other boys shipping out to war. Other mothers crying. Other fathers standing silent with emotions locked behind iron discipline. Thomas shook his son's hand, gripped like steel. "You fight for America even though America does not always accept us. This is honor. You survive. You come home. Farm needs you. Sister needs you. I need you," Sarah cried. Hugged her older brother. At 18, she would be running the farm alone with their aging father. "You better come back, Jack Chen. I'm not doing all this work by myself forever." Father O'Brien blessed Jack with Catholic prayers, hand on his forehead, speaking words in Latin that sounded ancient and powerful. "May God watch over you, son. You're fighting for something bigger than yourself. For freedom, for dignity, for the world your children will inherit. Come back safely." Then Maggie. She pulled Jack aside, out of others' hearing, handed him a small photograph of herself, recent, professional, her smile captured perfectly. "Keep this with you. Look at it when you're scared. Remember I'm waiting. Remember we have a life to build. I'll come back." Jack promised, smart, not brave. "I'll be invisible, like hunting deer. They won't see me. I'll survive. I'll come home to you. I love you, Jack Chen. I love you, Maggie Sullivan." They kissed on the platform while people stared. Chinese man and Irish woman embracing publicly, breaking every unspoken rule. Neither cared. Let them stare. Let them judge. Love was stronger than racism. Had to be. The train pulled away. Jack watched California disappear. Watched his old life fade. Did not know he was heading towards something that would make him legend. Would save hundreds of lives. Would change warfare forever. and would destroy him in ways bullets never could. August 7th, 1942. Guadalcanal Landing, 1st Marine Division. Jack hit the beach with thousands of others. Jungle ahead, mountains inland. Japanese forces somewhere in that green hell. The landing was successful initially, caught enemy by surprise, secured the airfield. Things looked good, but within days, Japanese reinforcements arrived. They held the high ground. They knew the terrain. They had snipers trained in forests just like this. Men who had fought in China for years. Men who understood patience and invisibility and killing from positions nobody could find. The dying started immediately. August 15th, 5 days after landing, 17 Marines dead in Jack's sector, all from sniper fire, all from positions nobody could locate. Colonel William Bradford commanded the sector. Old school Marine, believed in frontal assaults, artillery preparation, overwhelming force, honor and courage in traditional warfare. But traditional warfare was not working. Jack sat in his foxhole that night, listening to the jungle, heard Japanese voices in the distance, heard movement in the trees, heard death waiting in the darkness. And he thought about deer in California foothills, about his father's teaching, about becoming invisible. This was hunting. Same principles, different prey, deadlier consequences. But hunting nonetheless. August 20th, Jack approached his squad leader, Sergeant Mike Johnson, exhausted man who had not slept properly in weeks. Sergeant Jack said, quietly, "I think I can find the snipers." Johnson looked at him with tired eyes. "Marines have been trying for 5 weeks. What makes you different?" "I grew up hunting, tracking game through terrain just like this. I know how to read the land, know how to stay invisible, know how to think like prey thinks, like hunters think." Johnson studied this quiet Chinese-American private. "What do you need permission to work alone?" "One day. Let me try." Johnson got permission from Bradford. The colonel was skeptical, but desperate. Men were dying. Nothing else was working. "One day, Chen. If you get killed, that's on you. If you succeed, maybe we'll listen." Jack took his Springfield rifle and moved into the jungle at dawn. Did not search randomly. Studied patterns first. Where Marines had been killed, what time of day. What they had been doing when shot. He mapped it mentally, the way he would map deer behavior. Patterns emerged. Most kills happened between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. Soldiers moving between positions, fetching water, relieving themselves. Normal activities. The Japanese sniper was positioned where he could see high traffic areas, where targets presented themselves regularly. Jack narrowed possible positions to a ridge 400 yards from Marine lines. He circled wide, approaching from behind where the sniper would not expect threat. Moved so slowly it took 6 hours to cover half a mile. Froze when birds flew overhead, knowing sudden flight would alert anyone watching. By 3 in the afternoon, Jack had position on a small hill overlooking the ridge. Through his iron sights he saw it, subtle disturbance in the vegetation. Not natural, too symmetrical. Someone had arranged branches to create hide. Professional work, but not perfect. Nothing was perfect if you knew what to look for. Jack waited, did not move, controlled his breathing, became part of the hillside. 4 hours passed. Mosquitoes swarmed. Heat was oppressive. Sweat soaked his uniform. He did not move, did not swat mosquitoes, did not adjust position, just waited, patient, invisible. At 7 in the evening, a Japanese soldier shifted position inside the hide. Small movement, adjusting to new target, preparing for a shot. But it was enough. Jack saw him. Calculated distance, 420 yards. Slight uphill angle. Wind from left to right, about 5 miles per hour. Jack thought about his father, about Thomas teaching him to hunt at age 8. Become the forest, become the wind, become nothing. He thought about Maggie, about promises to come home, about the life waiting in California. He exhaled slowly, squeezed the trigger with pressure so gentle it surprised him when the rifle fired. The crack echoed across the jungle. The Japanese soldier slumped forward, visible now, dead. Jack did not celebrate, did not move, stayed frozen for 2 more hours. Other Japanese soldiers might be nearby, might investigate, might search. He waited until full darkness, then crawled away, Returned to Marine lines at midnight. Johnson was waiting. Well, got him. 420 yards. Won't be killing anyone else. Next morning, Marines confirmed the kill. The sniper had been one of Japan's best, trained specifically for jungle warfare, had killed 43 Marines before Jack eliminated him. 43 families would not receive death telegrams because of what Jack Chen did with patience and a rifle and knowledge learned hunting deer in California foothills. Bradford called Jack to the command tent, looked at this quiet Chinese-American private with new eyes. How'd you do it? Studied his pattern, circled behind him, waited until he showed himself. Same way I'd hunt deer back home. Can you do it again? Jack thought about it. Thought about Tommy Davis dying at the latrine. Thought about 17 other Marines killed by invisible enemy. Thought about Maggie waiting in California. About promises to come home smart instead of brave. Yes, sir, but I need better position. Need supplies to build proper hide. Need time to study terrain. Bradford, despite his prejudice against sniping, could not argue with results. You've got 3 days. Show me what you can do. Jack Chen, 23-year-old Chinese-American farm boy from Modesto, California, was about to change modern warfare forever, was about to save hundreds of American lives, was about to become invisible warrior, was about to prove that deer hunting skills could defeat trained military snipers, was about to become legend. But that is a story for the next part. For now, understand this. Sometimes the greatest warriors come from unexpected places. Sometimes farm boys know things colonels do not. Sometimes being invisible is more powerful than being seen. Sometimes the quietest voices change the world. August 25th, 1942. Jack building his first hide. He selected position 350 yards from Japanese lines. Natural elevation, clear field of view, cover from behind. Everything his father taught him about reading terrain. Everything 15 years of deer hunting had burned into his instincts. He spent 2 days gathering materials. Stacked rocks that looked natural. No artificial patterns, no straight lines. Nature did not work in straight lines. Wove jungle vegetation into the rocks. Matched the surrounding hillside exactly. Created a tiny opening just wide enough for his rifle barrel. From outside, it looked like another pile of rocks and brush on a hillside covered with rocks and brush. Nothing special, nothing worth noticing. Inside the hide, Jack could lie flat on his stomach 4 hours without moving. Could control his breathing to almost nothing. Could become part of the earth itself. Corporal Robert Martinez watched Jack work with fascination. Bobby was 25 years old. From El Paso, Texas, Mexican-American, brown skin, Spanish accent when he spoke English. He faced prejudice similar to what Jack faced. Different words, same hatred, different slurs, same exclusion. What you building? Chen Jack looked up. Hunting blind, like what deer hunters use back home. You really killed that Jap sniper last week. The one who got 43 of our guys, yes? How patience, observation, understanding how prey behaves, how hunters think. Bobby thought about this. I got good eyes, used to scout for cattle drives in West Texas, can spot a steer 3 miles away in dust storm. You could use a spotter. Jack studied him. You volunteering? Yeah, Bobby's voice was firm. Better than what I'm doing now. Rather work with someone who knows what he's doing. Rather kill enemies who need killing than sit in foxholes waiting to die. They shook hands, beginning a partnership that would save hundreds of lives, beginning a brotherhood between 2 men the Marine Corps barely acknowledged as human, Chinese and Mexican, Oriental and Hispanic, both treated as less than, both about to prove they were more than anyone expected. Their first mission together was August 28th. They settled into Jack's hide at 4 in the morning, before dawn. Before the jungle woke up, stayed frozen for 14 hours. Bobby whispered observations through periscope salvaged from destroyed tank. Japanese soldier, 350 yards, northwest ridge, passing water bucket. Jack aimed, adjusted for distance, for wind, for angle, for everything his father taught him. Squeezed trigger. Target fell. They stayed frozen 3 more hours. No Japanese response. No indication anyone knew where shot came from. Perfect invisibility. Perfect execution. Second kill that day came at noon. Japanese officer inspecting positions. 410 yards. Clean headshot. The officer never knew what hit him. Never saw the hunter. Never had chance to be afraid. Third kill next morning. Soldier moving between trenches. 380 yards. Another clean kill. Another family in Japan that would receive notification their son had fallen in combat. Another name on a list that kept growing. Jack and Bobby never fired twice from same position. After 2 or 3 shots maximum, they would withdraw at night. Build new hide 200 yards away. Never established pattern Japanese could predict. Never became routine. Routine meant death. Within first month together, Jack and Bobby had 47 confirmed kills. Every single shot between 300 and 450 yards. Every single target, we did it that way without seeing attackers. Not once did Japanese forces locate their positions. Not once did return fire come close. The system worked. The partnership was perfect. Bobby's eyes and Jack's patience. Bobby's observation and Jack's execution. 2 men becoming one weapon. One invisible, unstoppable weapon. The results were undeniable. In Jack's protected sector, Marine casualties from sniper fire dropped from 25 men per week to 6. Just 6. Other sectors still losing 20 plus. But where Jack hunted, Marines could eat safely, could move without constant terror, could sleep without expecting death. Word spread through the ranks, whispers at first, then louder talk. There was someone out there, someone protecting them, someone killing the killers. They called him the Ghost, Chen the Ghost, the invisible warrior who saved lives without ever being seen. Late nights in foxholes, ended up barely fought in Mexican Revolution, came to Texas 1920. We've been American 3 generations, but white people still call us wetbacks, still treat us like we don't belong, like we're criminals, like we're less than human. Bobby's voice carried pain. When war started, I enlisted to prove we're American as anyone. Thought maybe fighting would earn respect. But officers still question my loyalty, still give me the worst assignments, still treat me different. Like being Mexican means being suspicious. Jack understood completely. Same with Chinese. My family's been here 35 years. My father built a farm from nothing, worked himself nearly to death, but we're still outsiders. Always will be in their eyes, no matter what we do, no matter how hard we work. You think killing Japanese soldiers proves anything to them? Jack was quiet for a long moment. No, but it proves something to me, that being invisible can be power, that skills they dismiss can save American lives, that maybe we belong more than they think, even if they never admit it. Bobby nodded slowly. When this war's over, maybe things will change. Maybe proving ourselves in combat earns us respect, earns us equality. They were wrong about that, completely wrong, but they did not know it yet. In the jungle darkness, with death all around them, they allowed themselves hope, allowed themselves to believe sacrifice might matter. That blood spilled for America might finally make them American in eyes that refused to see them as equals. They became brothers in ways transcending blood. Both minorities in white man's Marine Corps, both proving themselves through results when society said they were not worth consideration, both invisible in life but deadly in combat, both fighting for country that did not fight for them. September 1942, General Harrison ordered Jack to train 20 Marines in his methods. Jack stood before 20 men, all white, all bigger than him, all skeptical that Chinese farm boy could teach them anything. Their faces showed doubt, showed prejudice, showed the same contempt Jack had seen his entire life. He did not let it stop him. Listen carefully, Jack said. Voice steady, voice carrying authority earned through results. I'm going to teach you how to build natural-looking hides, how to judge distance by eye, how to control breathing for hours, how to read enemy patterns, how to think like prey instead of predator. One Marine interrupted, big guy from Alabama. This is cowards fighting. Real Marines charged with bayonets, face the enemy like men. Jack looked at him without blinking. Real Marines go home alive. Dead Marines don't help anyone. You want to be brave, fine. You'll be brave and dead, probably within a week. You want to survive and kill enemies, You'll listen to what I'm teaching." The Alabama Marines started to argue. Jack cut him off. "Japanese soldiers follow routines. Water delivery at dawn. Position changes at noon. Officer inspections in afternoon. Watch long enough you can predict when targets appear. Just like deer following trails at dawn and dusk. Learn the pattern. Become invisible. Wait for perfect shot. That's how you survive. That's how you win." Some Marines resisted at first. Thought sniping was beneath them. Thought honor mattered more than results. But Jack's record spoke louder than prejudice. 47 confirmed kills in 1 month. 0 casualties in his protected sector. Numbers did not lie. He taught them everything. How to stack rocks naturally. How to weave vegetation. How to create firing positions that look like terrain. How to stay motionless for hours despite heat and insects and physical discomfort. How to read wind and distance and angle. How to think 3 moves ahead like chess players. Like hunters. By October, Jack's 20 students were positioned across Guadalcanal perimeter. Each used his techniques. Each built invisible hides. Each practiced patience learned from Chinese farm boy who learned from his father, who learned from necessity and survival. Sniper casualty rate across entire beachhead dropped 40%. Not as dramatic as Jack's personal sector, but enough to save dozens of lives weekly. Enough that generals noticed. Enough that doctrine started changing. Japanese command noticed too. They were losing men to invisible enemy. Their own snipers were being eliminated methodically. Casualties climbing, morale dropping, fear spreading through ranks. This was unacceptable. This had to stop. September 15th, 1944, Peleliu Island, 2 years after Guadalcanal. Jack had fought through Solomon Islands, through New Britain, through Marshall Islands. His kill count climbed steadily. 80 confirmed by mid-1944. Bobby still his partner, still spotting, still watching his back, still the brother he never had by blood, but had by choice. Peleliu was different, worse than anything before. The island was small, strategically worthless. But Japanese defense was fanatical. They had learned from previous defeats, built caves, dug tunnels, created hidden positions that could not be destroyed by artillery, could not be burned by flamethrowers, could only be cleared by Marines dying in close combat. Casualties were horrific, the worst of the Pacific War. Bodies piled up faster than they could be buried. The smell of death was everywhere, constant, overwhelming. Men vomited from the stench, kept fighting, kept dying. Jack and Bobby operated on northern ridges, coral outcroppings, burned vegetation, terrain like nothing they had seen before. But principles remained same. Find good position, build invisible hide, study enemy patterns, wait, shoot, move, repeat. In 2 weeks, they eliminated 32 Japanese positions. Jack's total reached 112 confirmed kills. Bobby estimated real number over 140, including shots where bodies could not be verified, where targets fell into caves or tunnels and could not be counted officially. Jack Chen, 25 years old now, was becoming most successful American sniper in Pacific Theater. More kills than anyone else, more lives saved, more impact on battlefield. All with standard Springfield rifle and techniques learned hunting deer in California. But Japanese command made a decision that would test Jack like never before. Send their best to stop the invisible American. Send Lieutenant Hayato Nakamura. Send the legend. Hayato was myth made real. Age 34, former Olympic shooting competitor before the war. Represented Japan in 1936 Berlin Olympics. Served in China since 1937. 7 years of combat, 110 confirmed kills against Chinese forces, never failed a mission, never lost a duel, never met opponent he could not eliminate. Japanese intelligence had intercepted radio traffic mentioning Chen the Ghost. They had sector coordinates, approximate positions, casualty patterns showing where the American sniper operated. Hayato studied this intelligence for 3 days, mapped American deaths in Japanese lines. Noticed one sector suffered far worse than others. That was where the primary hunter operated. That was where the ghost killed from shadows. That was where Hayato would prove himself superior. September 28th, Hayato arrived Peleliu with one mission: find the ghost, kill the invisible hunter, stop the bleeding, restore Japanese morale, prove that American innovation was temporary, that Japanese training and discipline would prevail. He set up his own hide, 500 yards from where he calculated the American must be operating. Then he waited, patient, professional, confident. For 4 days, Hayato watched through his scope, saw nothing unusual, just rocks, coral outcroppings, burned vegetation from flamethrowers. No movement, no glints of metal, no disturbed earth. This opponent was extraordinarily skilled. Hayato respected that, but he was confident. He had killed 41 enemy snipers in China. This American would be 42, October 2nd. Jack killed a Japanese soldier at 400 yards. Hayato saw the muzzle flash. Tiny puff of smoke lasting less than a second. But enough. He marked the location precisely in his mind. Memorized landmarks, calculated distance and angle. Now he knew where to look. Next morning, Hayato aimed at that spot, waited for the American to fire again. Hours passed. October sun blazed down on Peleliu Coral. Heat was unbearable. No shade, no relief. Flies swarmed over bodies rotting in the coral. Smell was overwhelming, but Hayato did not move, did not waver, just waited. Then Jack fired again. Different position inside his hide. Bobby had spotted a Japanese officer inspecting caves. Hayato fired immediately after. His bullet struck coral exactly where Jack's rifle had been. Fragments exploded, sharp edges sprayed. But Jack had already rolled 6 feet left inside his hide. The technique learned from deer hunting. Fire and move. Never stay static. Never be where enemy expects. Jack knew instantly someone was hunting him now. Recognized the instant response shot. Professional work. Expert timing. He had been found, not completely, but close enough. Dangerously close. For first time since Guadalcanal, Jack felt cold fear spreading through his chest. Somewhere out there, an expert was watching, waiting for mistake, waiting for one small error that would mean death. The hunter had become the hunted. The invisible warrior now had target on his back. That night, Jack wrote Maggie, letter he struggled to finish, hand shaking as he held the pencil. There's a hunter hunting me now, someone good, someone patient, someone who understands what I do, makes me understand what the deer felt all those years, what the Japanese soldiers I've killed must have felt. That moment of realization that death is coming and you cannot see it, cannot stop it, can only wait and hope you're faster or smarter or luckier. If I don't make it home, know I loved you. Know I tried my best. Know the thought of you kept me alive every day. Know that every morning I woke up, I thought about California, about the Tuolumne River, about building a life together. That hope sustained me through everything. Wait for me if you can, but if you can't, I understand. Move on, be happy. Find someone who can give you the life I promised, but might not deliver. You deserve happiness. You deserve everything good in this world. I love you, Maggie Sullivan. Always have. Always will, Jack. He sealed the letter, gave it to Bobby to mail if he did not survive, then prepared for the duel that would determine whether Chinese-American farm boy or Japanese Olympic champion was better hunter, better killer, better survivor. The duel between Jack Chen and Hayato Nakamura lasted 14 days. Most intense sniper confrontation in Pacific theater. Two masters at peak of their abilities. Two philosophies of warfare colliding. Two men who had perfected art of becoming invisible. Only one would survive. Day 1. October 3rd, Jack and Bobby changed positions, built new hide 400 yards from previous location. All night work, exhausting labor, digging into coral, reinforcing structure, camouflaging perfectly. By dawn, they were invisible again. But Hayato had noted the sector. He adjusted his own position, moving closer, risking exposure to close the gap. Day 2, Jack killed 2 Japanese soldiers, both at extreme range, 490 and 510 yards, pushing his capabilities, testing limits. Hayato saw distant flashes but could not pinpoint exact location. The American was moving between shots. Professional, disciplined, better than expected. Day 3. Bobby spotted movement through periscope. Jack, I think I see him. 5 o'clock. Maybe 520 yards. Something wrong with that rock formation. Jack studied it carefully. Bobby was right. Subtle asymmetry, too perfect to be natural. Human hands had arranged those rocks. That was Hayato's hide. But shooting would reveal their position definitively. Would start firefight neither could control. Jack held fire, waiting for better opportunity, waiting for certainty. Days 4 through 6, psychological warfare. Neither side fired. Both knew the other was close. Both waited for a mistake that never came. The tension was unbearable. Jack could not sleep, could not eat normally. Every moment exposed meant potential death. Every breath might be his last. Bobby was equally on edge. Nerves stretched to breaking point. Day 7, October 9th. Hayato tried to make it. He had a Japanese pilot over the close area he knew Jack covered, hoping the American could not resist easy target. Would fire, would reveal position, would make fatal mistake. Jack recognized the bait immediately. Soldier's movement was too deliberate, too exposed, too perfect. This was trap. Classic tactic. He held fire, let the target walk away untouched. Hayato realized the American was smarter than expected, more disciplined, more dangerous. Day 8, October 10th. Maggie's letters arrived, 2 weeks delayed by military logistics. She wrote about Modesto, about hospital work, about dreams of their wedding. Father O'Brien is ready whenever you come home. We'll get married the day you return. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care who judges us. I love you. Come home to me. Jack read the letters multiple times, memorized every word, thought about life after war, about marrying Maggie, about farming with his father, about simple existence that seemed impossible from coral hell of Peleliu. Used these thoughts to stay focused, to stay sharp, to stay alive one more day. Days 9 through 12. Weather changed, rain came, typhoon approaching. Visibility reduced to almost nothing. Both snipers hunkered down, waiting for conditions to improve. The rain was miserable but provided cover, allowed repositioning without being seen. Jack and Bobby moved during worse rain, built new hide 200 yards northwest of previous position. Exhausting work in downpour, digging into coral that cut their hands, reinforcing against rain that threatened to collapse structure, camouflaging perfectly despite water and mud. By the time rain stopped on day 12, they were invisible again. New position, new advantage. Day 13, October 16th. Clear weather finally. Jack spotted Japanese supply movement. 4 soldiers carrying ammunition boxes toward cave positions. Range measured carefully. 440 yards. Jack aimed, calculated everything. Wind, distance, angle, movement. Fired once. 1 soldier fell. Jack rolled left immediately without thinking. Pure instinct. Hayato's response shot hit coral where Jack had been 3 seconds earlier. Fragments exploded, sharp edges. If Jack had stayed static, he would be dead. Bobby whispered urgently, "He's close, very close. We need to relocate." But relocating in daylight meant exposure, meant being seen, meant death. They stayed frozen. Hours passed without movement, neither sniper willing to make first move. Psychological battle as intense as physical. Who would break first? Who would make mistake? Who would die? Day 14. October 17th. Dawn. Bobby spotted something through periscope. Jack. 480 yards. Slight ridge. Something's there if I'm... Heated distortion doesn't match terrain. Jack looked carefully. Bobby was right. Subtle wrongness in the landscape. Hayato had made microscopic error. His hide's ventilation created thermal signature visible in early morning cool air. Barely detectable. But there. Real. Vulnerable. Jack calculated distance. Wind. Angle. This was longest shot he would attempt. 480 yards. Near his maximum effective range with iron sights. Miss now and Hayato would relocate. Opportunity gone forever. Next time Hayato would find him first. Next time Jack would be the target who never saw death coming. Jack thought about his father, about Thomas teaching him to hunt at age 8, become the forest. become the wind, become nothing the eye notices. Patience over speed, observation over action, understanding over force. He thought about Maggie, about promises to come home, about life waiting in California, about children they would have, about growing old together on the farm, about dying peacefully in bed surrounded by grandchildren instead of alone on Coral Island nobody cared about. He exhaled slowly, the way his father taught him, the way 15 years of practice had made automatic. Squeezed trigger with pressure so gentle, it surprised him when rifle fired. No jerk, no pull, just smooth, perfect release. The bullet flew across 480 yards of Peleliu coral, flight time just over 1 second, struck Hayato Nakamura directly through the left eye, penetrated brain, killed instantly. The legendary Japanese sniper was dead before his body understood what happened. His family in Osaka would receive notification that Lieutenant Nakamura died honorably in combat serving the emperor. They would never know he was killed by Chinese-American farm boy from California. Would never know their Olympic champion was defeated by deer hunter using primitive techniques learned from immigrant father. Would never know that invisible warrior from country they despised had proven superior through patience and skill and understanding of fundamentals that transcended training and technology. Jack and Bobby stayed frozen for 3 more hours. Only when Japanese search parties retrieved Hayato's body did they confirm the kill. The legend was gone. The hunter had been hunted and lost, and Jack Chen remained invisible, remained alive, remained the ghost. That night, Bobby said quietly, "You just killed the best sniper Japan had, Olympic champion, 7 years combat experience. Nobody's going to believe this. Chinese-American farm kid takes down their greatest marksman." Jack was silent for a long time, finally spoke. "He was good, really good. Best I've ever faced. In another life, we might have been friends. Both just hunters doing what we were trained to do. War makes enemies of people who should be brothers." Bobby understood. That's the tragedy of it. We kill men we don't hate, men who are probably decent, who have families, who love their children, who want same things we want. Peace, safety, home. But war makes us enemies, makes us killers. Jack nodded, thought about 112 confirmed kills, 112 men who would never go home, 112 families destroyed, all because nations could not resolve differences without violence, all because politicians sent young men to die for causes most did not understand. But he also thought about Marines he had protected, about Bobby sitting alive beside him, about men who would go home to their families because Jack Chen had been invisible hunter, had been patient killer, had been better than enemy sent to stop him. He thought about Maggie, about promises to come home smart instead of brave, about deer hunting in California foothills, about father who taught him to see patterns where others saw chaos, about being Chinese-American in country that did not accept him, but that he fought for anyway because it was still home, still the place his family had built life, still worth defending despite all its flaws. The war would continue. More islands, more battles, more killing. But tonight on Peleliu coral soaked with blood and rain, Jack Chen allowed himself the moment of relief. He had survived the duel, had defeated the legend, had proven that farm boy wisdom was stronger than Olympic training, that patience beat speed, that invisibility beat presence, that understanding prey psychology was more valuable than expensive equipment or formal education. He had survived, and survival meant going home, meant marrying Maggie, meant building life his parents dreamed of when they came to America looking for opportunity and found racism and hardship instead, meant proving that Chinese Americans belonged, that they were American as anyone, that their contributions mattered even when nobody acknowledged them. But the hardest battles were still ahead, not against Japanese soldiers, against demons that lived inside, against memories that would not fade, against war that never really ended even when guns went silent. That is a story for the next part. For now, understand this. Jack Chen had become invisible warrior, had killed 112 confirmed enemies, had saved hundreds of American lives, had changed Marine Corps doctrine forever. But the cost was higher than anyone knew. The price of being hunter was becoming haunted. The price of survival was carrying weight of all those who did not survive. The price of coming home was discovering that home was no longer a place you remembered. That war changed you in ways that made peace impossible. Sometimes winning means losing everything that mattered. Sometimes the invisible warrior wishes he could be invisible to himself, to the memories, to the guilt, to the knowledge that he had been very good at killing and that being good at killing meant something was broken inside. But that revelation was still years away. Tonight, Jack Chen was just grateful to be alive, was just grateful Bobby was alive, was just grateful the duel was over and the legend was dead, and tomorrow they would hunt again because that was their job, their purpose, their contribution to war that seemed endless. Tomorrow they would be invisible again. Tonight they allowed themselves to be human, to feel fear and relief and exhaustion and hope mixed together in ways that made no sense but felt completely real. The ghost of Peleliu had proven himself, had earned his legend, had become more than anyone expected. But legends are heavy. They crush the men who carry them. And Jack Chen was beginning to understand that surviving war was only the first battle. The real war was waiting at home, in the mirror, in the nightmares, in the spaces between heartbeats where memory lived and would not die. November 1944 through June 1945, Jack fought through Philippines, then Okinawa. Okinawa was hell made real. 3 months of brutal fighting, the bloodiest battle in Pacific theater. Japanese defense was fanatical beyond anything seen before. Kamikaze attacks rained from sky. Suicide charges came from tunnels. Fighting to last man, fighting to last bullet, fighting beyond rational thought into realm of pure desperation. Jack and Bobby continued their invisible war, eliminating snipers, protecting Marines, saving lives one shot at a time. By June 1945, Jack's confirmed kills reached 180. Bobby estimated real number over 220, including unverified shots. Targets that fell into caves or water. Bodies never recovered. Deaths never officially counted, but absolutely real. Jack Chen had become most successful American sniper in Pacific theater. More kills than any other Marine. More than most Army snipers. All with standard Springfield rifle. All with techniques learned hunting deer in California. All through patience and observation and understanding patterns that others missed. June 19th, 1945. Artillery barrage caught Jack and Bobby's position. Japanese counterattack. Heavy shells falling like rain. Explosions shaking ground. Coral fragments flying like shrapnel. One shell landed 30 feet from their hide, close enough to feel heat, close enough to be thrown by blast wave, close enough to kill. Shrapnel tore through Bobby's left leg and abdomen. Multiple wounds, blood everywhere. He screamed, high-pitched, terrible. The sound of man dying. Jack grabbed him, dragged him to cover while shells exploded around them. Debris falling, death falling, hell falling from sky. Field medics arrived, stopped bleeding with tourniquets and pressure bandages. Bobby would survive, but war was over for him. He had lost too much blood, leg damaged permanently, would walk with limp rest of his life, would carry Peleliu coral embedded in his flesh forever. Bobby looked at Jack with fear and relief mixed together. You did it, brother. Kept me alive 2 years. 2 years in hell. Now I'm going home. Jack's throat was tight. Thank God. Tell your family I'm sorry you got hurt. Don't be sorry. Bobby gripped Jack's hand, squeezed hard. I'm alive because of you. Hundreds of Marines are alive because of you. You're a hero, Jack Chen. Whether they give you medals or not, whether they acknowledge it or not. You saved us. You finished this war. Bobby's voice was weak, fading. You go home to that girl. You build the life you talked about. Promise me. I promise. They evacuated Bobby to hospital ship. Jack never saw him again. Would wonder for rest of his life if Bobby made it home safe, if his leg healed properly, if he married, if he had children, if he remembered their invisible war, if he told his grandchildren about Chinese farm boy who saved his life. Questions that would haunt Jack forever because war separated brothers and peace never reunited them. August 6, 1945. Atomic bomb Hiroshima. The news spread through ranks like wildfire. New weapon, unimaginable power. Entire city destroyed in a simple blast. Tens of thousands more dying slowly from radiation. War changed fundamentally in microseconds. August 9th, Nagasaki, second bomb, second city destroyed, second demonstration that Japan could not win, could not survive, had to surrender or face total annihilation. August 15th, Japan surrendered. The war was over. After 3 years and 8 months, after millions dead, after cities burned, after innocents lost, after everything changed. The war was over. Jack had survived. He had killed 180 confirmed enemies, saved hundreds of American lives, changed Marine Corps sniper doctrine forever, proved that Chinese-American farm boy was equal to any soldier, superior to most, and he wanted nothing more than to forget all of it. September 1945. Jack sailed home on troop transport, thousands of Marines returning, everyone celebrating, everyone relieved, everyone talking about futures they almost lost, jobs they would take, girls they would marry, lives they would rebuild. Jack sat quietly in corner, unable to share their joy, unable to celebrate. He had killed too many men, seen too many friends die, carried too much weight. 180 families in Japan had received letters. Your son died honorably. Your husband fell in combat. Your father will not return. 180 families destroyed because Jack Chen had been better hunter, better killer, better survivor. He thought about those men, Japanese soldiers with wives and children and parents, men who loved their families, who dreamed of peace, who wanted same things Jack wanted, home, safety, simple life. But war made them enemies, made them targets, made them corpses. Jack wrote Maggie from the ship, hands shaking as pencil moved across paper. I'm coming home, but I'm not the same person who left. War changes men in ways I cannot explain. I've done things I can't talk about, killed people I didn't hate, watched friends die, became someone I don't recognize when I look in mirror. I don't know if I can be the man you fell in love with. That man died somewhere between Guadalcanal and Peleliu. What's coming home is something else, something darker, something broken. If you want to walk away, I'll understand. I won't blame you. You deserve better than what I've become. You deserve happiness I might not be able to give. Move on if you need to. Be happy. Find someone whole. I love you, Maggie Sullivan. Always have, always will. But love might not be enough to fix what war broke. Jack Maggie's response was waiting when he docked in San Diego. Short, direct, fierce. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you've seen. I don't care what you've become. I love you, Jack Chen, and I'll help you find peace again. We'll do it together. Come home. Just come home. October 15th, 1945. Jack returned to Modesto. Thomas and Sarah met him at train station. His father looked older, more bent from 3 years running farm without Jack's help, more gray in his hair, more lines in his face. Sarah was 23 now, engaged to farmer from Stockton. War had aged everyone who stayed behind, had stolen years from people who never left California. But Maggie was there, standing on platform, dark hair catching afternoon sun, Irish features that Jack had dreamed about for 3 years. She saw him, ran through crowd. They embraced while people stared. Chinese man and Irish woman, breaking rules, breaking barriers. Neither cared anymore. Let them stare. They had survived separation, survived war, could survive anything together. Welcome home, Jack Chen. Good to be home, Maggie Sullivan. That night at the farm, Jack could not sleep. Nightmares came immediately, violent, vivid, real. He saw Hayato through his scope, saw Japanese soldiers falling, saw Bobby bleeding, saw 180 men dying again and again and again, woke up reaching for rifle that was not there, covered in sweat, heart pounding, gasping for air that felt like drowning. Maggie found him, held him while he shook. It's okay. You're home. You're safe. Jack could not speak, could not explain that home did not feel safe, that nowhere felt safe. That war lived inside him now. Permanent resident, unwelcome guest, constant presence. This would continue for the rest of his life. The war never really ended for men who fought it. Peace was illusion, quiet was temporary, safety was lie, people told themselves so they could sleep at night. November 25th, 1945. Jack and Maggie married at St. Mary's Catholic Church. Father O'Brien performed ceremony. 87 years old now. Hands shaking, voice weak but determined. Small gathering attended. Chinese community from Modesto. Some Irish families despite prejudice. Maggie's cousins boycotted. Refused to see her marry Chinese man. Refused to acknowledge union. She did not care. Had made her choice years ago. Jack wore his Marine uniform, Silver Star and Bronze Star on chest, medals for valor he never understood. He had just been hunting, doing what came naturally. But military considered it heroism, called him hero, gave him medal and ribbon, as if that compensated for killing 180 men. Maggie wore simple white dress her mother had worn. They stood before Father O'Brien, exchanged vows that felt impossible and necessary simultaneously. I, Jack Chen, take you, Margaret Sullivan, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. When Father O'Brien said you may kiss the bride, Jack kissed Maggie and felt briefly that maybe life could be normal again. Maybe war could fade. Maybe love could heal what violence had broken. Maybe hope was more than illusion. Reception at Chen Farm. Chinese food and Irish whiskey mixed together, cultures colliding, boundaries breaking, music playing, people laughing. For one afternoon, war seemed distant, future seemed possible, hope seemed real. But that night, first night as married couple, Jack woke screaming, nightmare about Peleliu, about Hayato hunting him, about being target instead of hunter, about death coming invisible. Maggie held him while he shook. Whispered reassurance that felt hollow. I'm sorry. Jack's voice was broken. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. Maggie stroked his hair. We'll get through this, together, whatever it takes. But she did not understand. Could not understand. Nobody who had not been there could understand what it meant to kill 180 men. To watch friends die, to become efficient killer, to be good at death, to find satisfaction in perfect shot, to remember thrill of hunt even while hating yourself for enjoying it. Life after war was harder than war itself. Jack worked farm with his father, long hours, physical labor that exhausted body but could not exhaust mind. Thoughts kept returning to Pacific, to islands, to bodies, to blood, to 180 faces he could not forget. He could not talk about it. Maggie tried. Tell me what you saw. Tell me what happened. Carrying it alone is killing you. I can't. Jack's voice was flat, empty. You wouldn't understand. Nobody would. How do I explain what it feels like to watch man die through rifle scope? To know you ended someone's life from half-mile away, to calculate wind and distance, and know that pulling trigger meant widow crying in Japan, that every kill was father not coming home, brother lost forever, son buried in foreign ground. Maggie listened, tried to understand, but gap between soldier and civilian was unbridgeable. Ocean too wide to cross. Jack knew this. Stopped trying to explain. Carried weight alone because sharing it meant inflicting pain on person he loved. Better to suffer silently than spread suffering to others. 1947. Jack took job at lumber mill in Modesto. Better money than farming. Needed income to support household. But work was mindless. Left too much time to think. Too much space for memories to intrude. Too much silence filled by echoes of gunfire and screaming. He started drinking. Beer after work. Whiskey before bed. Anything to quiet thoughts. To stop seeing faces. To stop hearing voices. To stop remembering that he was killer who had never faced consequences. Hero they called him, but heroes did not kill 180 men. Heroes did not remember satisfaction of perfect shot. Heroes did not carry guilt that had weight but no shape. Maggie watched her husband disappear. Watched man she loved become stranger. Watched hope die slowly like plant without water. The drinking has to stop, Jack. You're killing yourself. Maybe that's what I deserve. Don't say that. Maggie's voice was fierce, desperate. You survive for a reason. We have life to build. We're supposed to have children, have future, have everything we talked about by the river. But Jack could not see future, could only see past, could only see 180 deaths, could only see war that never ended even though everyone said it was over. 1948, Maggie pregnant, they were overjoyed, finally something good. Baby due February 1949. This would fix things. Fatherhood would give Jack purpose, would pull him out of darkness, would make war memories fade into background where they belonged. They prepared nursery, bought crib, picked names, James for boy, Mary for girl. Jack touched Maggie's growing belly, felt baby kick. Imagine teaching his son or daughter to hunt, to track deer, to understand patterns, passing on knowledge Thomas had given him, creating legacy beyond killing, beyond war, beyond death. For first time since returning home, Jack allowed himself hope, allowed himself to believe future was possible, that being father would give meaning to survival, that new life would balance scales weighted down by 180 deaths. January 19th, 1949. Maggie 8 months pregnant. She fell downstairs at their house. Accident, simple accident. Loose board Jack had meant to fix for weeks. She missed her footing, fell, landed hard, rushed to hospital, bleeding, complications. Doctors did everything possible. Modern medicine, best care. But baby was too early, too much trauma, not enough time. They buried their unnamed son in Modesto Cemetery. Tiny coffin, so small, so wrong. Father O'Brien giving last rites over grave that should not exist. Jack and Maggie holding each other while rain fell. Sky crying because they had no tears left. Jack blamed himself. If he had been home instead of at work, if he had fixed that step, if he had been better husband, more present, more capable. His fault, his failure, another death on his conscience. 181 now. 181 people dead because of him, because of his actions or his inaction, because he existed. Maggie tried to recover, tried to heal. It's not your fault. It was accident. We can try again. We're still young. We have time. But Jack could not hear it, could not accept forgiveness, could not believe he deserved another chance. Guilt over Japanese soldiers, guilt over Bobby's wounds, guilt over unnamed son, guilt crushing him, suffocating him, destroying him from inside. He drank more, came home late, angry, distant, silent. Maggie tried to reach him, tried to help, tried to save him. But war had taken her husband and left ghost. She could not save someone who did not want saving, could not fix someone who believed he deserved to be broken. March 1951. Maggie made decision that was terrible and right simultaneously. They sat at kitchen table, morning light coming through window, coffee going cold. Words that had been building for months finally spoken. Jack, I can't do this anymore. Maggie's voice was steady, but eyes were red. I love you. God knows I love you. But I can't save you from yourself. You need help I can't give. You need to want to heal. And you don't want that. You want to punish yourself forever for surviving when others didn't. Jack sat silent, could not argue. She was right. About everything. I'm not leaving because I stopped loving you. Maggie continued, I'm leaving because watching you destroy yourself is destroying me too. I can't watch you drink yourself to death. Can't watch you disappear into guilt that isn't yours to carry. Can't watch you refuse every attempt I make to help. I'm sorry. Jack's voice was barely audible. I'm so sorry I couldn't be what you needed. You are what I need. But you won't let me help you. You won't let anyone help you. So I have to let you go. Before you destroy both of us. Before I forget what it feels like to hope. I understand. I'll always love you, Jack Chen, always. If you ever find peace, if you ever heal, find me, or I'll be waiting. But I can't wait while you're actively destroying yourself. I can't be partner in your self-destruction. They divorced April 1951, 6 years after Jack returned from war. 6 years of trying, 6 years of failing. 6 years of love not being enough to heal wounds too deep for love to reach. Maggie moved back with Father O'Brien. Jack moved to cheap apartment in Modesto, worked odd jobs, lumber mill, construction, farm labor, dock work, anything that paid, nothing that mattered, nothing that gave meaning, just survival, just existence, just breathing in and out until breathing stopped. He existed more than lived, isolated, alone, carrying weight that never lessened. The invisible warrior who had saved hundreds now could not save himself. The hunter who had never been seen now desperately wanted to be invisible again, to disappear, to stop being burden on everyone who had ever cared about him. June 1950, Korean War began. Jack tried to enlist, age 31, combat experience, expert marksman, perfect for training next generation of snipers. Marine recruiter looked at his record, saw medals, saw kills, impressive on paper, then looked at Jack himself, saw broken man, saw alcoholism, saw instability barely concealed. Sorry, Chen, we can't use you. You're not fit for service. Not fit, the words echoed. The man who had killed 180 enemies, who had changed Marine Corps doctrine, who had saved hundreds of lives, not fit, rejected, useless. Jack walked out feeling hollow. If war did not want him, what was he for? What purpose did survival serve? Why had he lived when so many died? When Bobby was wounded, when unnamed son died, when Maggie left, what was point of being alive? 1955. Letter forwarded through Marine Corps from Bobby Martinez. Jack held envelope for 3 days before opening it, afraid of what it would say, afraid of judgment, afraid Bobby had become everything Jack had failed to become. The letter was warm, friendly, full of life. Bobby had survived, married Mexican girl from El Paso, 2 children, working as police officer, good life, happy life, wanted Jack to visit, to reconnect, to remember they had been brothers once. Jack never responded, could not face Bobby, could not explain why he had failed at life Bobby succeeded at, could not bear seeing Bobby's pity. The letter went unanswered. Friendship died from neglect. Another relationship Jack destroyed through silence and shame. 1960 through 1968. Jack's health declined. Years of drinking, manual labor, living rough. His body was giving out. Heart problems from stress, liver damage from alcohol, lungs damaged from decades of smoking. 49 years old but looked 70. He lived in boarding house in Oakland, worked occasionally on docks, unloading ships, physical labor that destroyed what remained of his body. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew quiet Chinese man loading crates had killed 180 enemies, had fought across Pacific, had been invisible warrior who changed warfare forever. Jack preferred it that way. Anonymity was safety. Invisibility was what he had always been good at, becoming part of background, existing without being noticed. Maybe this was his destiny, to hunt briefly, to kill efficiently, then to disappear back into obscurity he came from. March 7, 1968, Jack Chen died in VA hospital in Oakland. Heart attack, massive, sudden, lone in his room at 2 in the morning. Nurse found him 2 hours later, no family present, no friends, no mourners, just another veteran dying alone in system that did not know how to care for broken soldiers. The obituary in Oakland Tribune was 3 sentences. Jack Chen, 49, veteran, died March 7th at VA hospital. Born in Modesto, served in Pacific Theater Wet 2. Survived by father Thomas Chen and sister Sarah Chen Martinez of Modesto. No mention of 180 kills. No mention of changing sniper doctrine. No mention of Hayato Nakamura duel. No mention of saving hundreds of Marine lives. Just veteran. Died. That was all. That was everything. That was how invisible warrior became invisible death. Funeral was small. St. Mary's Catholic Church in Modesto. Father O'Brien, 90, now barely able to stand, said Mass. Thomas Chen attended. 84 years old, barely able to walk, leaning on cane. Sarah came with husband and grown children. Maybe 30 people total. Chinese community members who remembered family. Few veterans who had known Jack distantly. Maggie Sullivan came, age 49, never remarried, worked as head nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. When people asked why she stayed single, she said life was too busy for romance. Truth was, she had never stopped loving Jack Chen, could not imagine loving anyone else. War had taken him from her long before his body died. At graveside, Maggie placed flowers, white roses. Jack's favorite, though he had never told her. She just knew. Whispered words only she and his ghost could hear. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry love wasn't enough. But know I never stopped loving you. Know you were always my hero. Know that somewhere, somehow, I hope you found peace, found rest, found release from guilt that was never yours to carry alone. She walked away crying. 49 years old, life spent loving man who had been destroyed by war, who had saved hundreds but could not save himself, who had been invisible warrior becoming invisible person, becoming invisible death. Father O'Brien said final blessing, voice trembling. May God have mercy on Jack Chen's soul. May he find in death the peace war stole from him in life. May his sacrifice never be forgotten. But it was forgotten, immediately, completely. Jack Chen buried in simple grave. No military honors, no media coverage, no recognition of any kind. America was too busy fighting Vietnam to remember forgotten heroes of forgotten war. The invisible warrior disappeared completely. 27 years later, 1995. James Walsh, military historian, researching Marine Corps sniper development. Walsh was civilian academic, age 42, taught military history at UC Berkeley, writing comprehensive history of American sniping from Civil War to present. Came across unusual references in WWII Pacific Theater records. Casualty reports from Guadalcanal showed dramatic variance between sectors. One area showed sudden drop in Marine deaths from Japanese snipers. Other sectors showed no such improvement. What changed? Walsh cross-referenced records. Found mentions of Chen the Ghost in several after-action reports. Private Jack Chen, Chinese-American, 180 confirmed kills. Developed new hide construction techniques. Trained 20 Marines. Killed legendary Japanese sniper Lieutenant Nakamura at Peleliu. Walsh was astonished. How had he never heard this story? This was extraordinary. Revolutionary. Why was Chen not famous? Why was he not in every Marine Corps history book? He researched further. Found Jack's service record. Silver Star, Bronze Star, Expert Marksman, Honorable Discharge 1945, last known address, Modesto, California. Walsh drove to Modesto, asked at City Hall, learned Jack had died 1968, asked about family, found Sarah Chen Martinez, age 73, living in Stockton. An interview was emotional. Sarah remembered brother well. Jack was never the same after war. Married Maggie Sullivan. They were so in love. But war broke him. They lost baby, divorced. Jack drifted for 17 years. Died alone in VA hospital, age 49. Maggie never got over it. She still talks about him like he died yesterday. Walsh asked, did you know he killed 180 enemy soldiers? That he changed Marine Corps tactics? That he saved hundreds of American lives? Sarah's eyes went wide. What Jack never talked about the war. Never told us anything. Just said he did his job and came home. We knew he had medals, but he never wore them. Never spoke of anything. We thought he drove supply trucks or something safe. Walsh showed her records. Kill count. Hayato Nakamura duel. Techniques spreading across Pacific. Training program. Everything. Sarah cried reading about brother she never really knew. He was hero and we never knew. She wiped tears. He died thinking he had failed at everything. But he saved hundreds of lives. Why didn't anyone tell him? Why didn't anyone tell us? Why did he die alone thinking he was nothing? Because military forgot him, Walsh said quietly. Sometimes heroes fall through cracks. Sometimes system fails to recognize what it has. I want to change that. I want people to know Jack Chen's story. 1998. Walsh published book titled The Invisible Warrior, Jack Chen, and the Birth of Modern Marine Sniping. Detailed Jack's life. California origins. Deer hunting background. Guadalcanal innovation. Bobby Martinez partnership. Hayato duel. 180 kills. Post-war struggles. Tragic death. Complete story 50 years forgotten. Book was well received in military circles. Marine Corps Historical Division republished excerpts. Sniper schools started teaching Chen principles officially. Patience over speed, natural camouflage, pattern recognition, understanding prey psychology, all credited to Jack Chen now. Name finally attached to techniques, but general public barely noticed. Books sold modestly. Few reviews, academic success, popular obscurity. Jack's story was known to specialists but remained invisible to wider world. The invisible warrior, staying invisible even in recognition. Maggie read the book, age 79, still sharp, still nursing part-time. Reading about Jack's war experiences was devastating. She had never known details, never understood what he faced, why he could not talk about it, why guilt consumed him, why love was not enough. She wrote Walsh. Thank you for telling Jack's story. I loved him my whole life. Never remarried. Couldn't imagine loving anyone else. Reading your book helps me understand why he couldn't heal, why love wasn't enough. War took him from me years before his body died. I'm glad someone finally knows what he did, what he sacrificed. Please don't let him be forgotten again. Walsh promised. March 7, 2018, 50th anniversary of Jack's death. Marine Corps and Chinese American Historical Society organized memorial ceremony. San Francisco, Golden Gate National Cemetery, unveil memorial marker. Honor forgotten hero. Correct historical injustice 50 years late. Colonel David Park organized event. Korean American Marine, sniper instructor at Camp Pendleton. Jack Chen revolutionized our profession. Every modern sniper learns his methods. We owe him this recognition. 50 years late, but better late than never. Ceremony attended by Marine Corps Commandant, California Governor, Chinese American community leaders, Jack's family, including Sarah's grandchildren and great-grandchildren, Bobby Martinez's family, because Bobby had died 1994, but his children attended, and Maggie Sullivan, age 99, wheelchair-bound but determined to be present. Memorial marker unveiled, black granite, gold lettering. Private First Class Jack Chen, United States Marine Corps, 1919 to 1968. The Invisible Warrior 180, confirmed eliminations, saved hundreds of American lives, revolutionized modern sniping, never forgotten again, Commandant spoke. Private Chen served when our nation questioned his loyalty because of his race. He proved loyalty through action, through sacrifice, through results that saved American lives. He deserves our deepest gratitude and our profound apology that recognition took 50 years, that he died alone thinking he had failed when he had succeeded beyond measure. Colonel Park spoke. Every Marine sniper learns Chen principles, natural camouflage, pattern recognition, understanding prey psychology. These are not just tactics, they are philosophy. Jack Chen understood that being invisible is not about hiding. It is about becoming part of environment, about understanding how enemy perceives world. This wisdom came from California deer hunting, applied to Pacific warfare, now taught worldwide. That is legacy. That is immortality. Maggie's granddaughter Emily spoke because Maggie was too frail to stand. My grandmother loved Jack Chen for 80 years, 79 years since he left for war, 67 years since their divorce, 50 years since his death. She never stopped loving him, never remarried, never moved on. When I asked why, she said, when you meet someone willing to become invisible so others can live, you don't forget them. You don't replace them. You honor them by remembering. Grandmother told me everything. How they met at county fair. How Jack taught her to read deer tracks. How he promised to come home. How war took him from her even though his body returned. How she tried to save him but couldn't. How she has carried guilt 67 years, wondering if she could have done more. I want to tell her and tell Jack's memory and tell everyone here Maggie Sullivan did everything she could. Love did everything it could. But some wounds are too deep. Some wars never end. Jack Chen fought 2 wars, one against Japan, one against himself. He won the first, lost the second, but his legacy lives. Every Marine trained in his methods, every life saved by patient sniper, every soldier who learned to be invisible. That is Jack Chen. That is grandmother's love made eternal. That is why we are here. Maggie, tears streaming down 99-year-old face, whispered, "I love you, Jack Chen. Always did, always will. Now rest. Finally rest." Today, every military sniper school worldwide teaches Chen principles, not always by name, sometimes credited to Pacific Theater innovations. But core concepts remain: natural camouflage, pattern recognition, understanding prey psychology, patience over speed. These came from Jack Chen, from California deer hunting, from Chinese-American farm boy Marine Corps initially doubted. Jack's techniques saved thousands of lives, not just 180 enemies killed, not just hundreds of Marines protected in World War II, but decades of soldiers trained in his methods. Applied in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, every conflict where patient, invisible snipers saved lives through not being seen. Maggie Sullivan died December 25, 2018, age 99, 9 months after memorial ceremony. Died in her sleep at St. Mary's Convalescent Home. Final words to Emily: "I'm going to see Jack now. Tell him I forgive him. Tell him love was enough even when healing wasn't. Tell him I never stopped being his." Buried beside Father O'Brien in Catholic Cemetery. Not beside Jack. His grave was in Veterans Section. Different religion. Different section. Separated by 20 feet of cemetery lawn. Close enough to almost touch. Far enough to never quite reach. Like life, like love. Like everything war stole. At Maggie's funeral, Emily placed 2 flowers. One on Maggie's grave. One on Jack's grave 20 feet away. You were separated in life by war. In death by regulations. But love doesn't respect boundaries. You're together now, finally. Rest together, love together, be at peace together. The story of Jack Chen teaches us greatest innovations come from unexpected places. Farm boy skills can defeat military doctrine. Invisibility can be more powerful than presence. True heroism does not always seek recognition. Sometimes most important victories are quiet ones, where people simply don't die. And teaches us tragedy. War never really ends. Invisible wounds are deepest. Love sometimes is not enough to heal what violence breaks. Recognition 50 years late does not erase 50 years of suffering. Heroes can save hundreds and still be unable to save themselves. But his methods live. His legacy continues. Every patient, sniper waiting invisible. Every hunter understanding prey psychology. Every warrior choosing smart over brave. That is Jack Chen, the invisible warrior. The deer hunter who changed warfare. The Chinese-American hero who died forgotten until we remembered. Until his story was finally told. Never invisible again. Never forgotten again. Never alone again in memory, if not in life. The ghost of Guadalcanal. The invisible warrior of Peleliu. The forgotten hero of Oakland. Jack Chen. Finally home. Finally honored. Finally at peace.